Hi, this is Steve Kachinsky of the American power metal band Steel Prophet, and we are listening to The Bloodshed with the Vampire on Metal Messiah Radio.
Steve, thank you very much for taking time out for this interview, and welcome to the Metal Bloodshed with the Vampire on Metal Messiah Radio.
Hey, thank you, Jacobo. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure for me to have you on the Bloodshed on Metal Messiah Radio. The highly respected progressive heavy metal band Steel Prophet, hailing from Los Angeles, California. The band was actually formed in Middletown, Connecticut, in 1983 by guitarist Steve Kachinsky. Steel Prophet is one of today's most well-known and respected metal band with 8 albums under the belt, and they are still around to rock the nation. Steve, you've been around for over 3+ decades, and I'm sure one of the pioneers of metal. How do you see the technology has developed the metal scene over the years?
You know, I think that the technology is a small part of it, but in metal we always had the things you still need, and that's the electric guitar, drums, and you just need someone that can sing. The technology, it's like it hasn't, instruments and things you use to make the music hasn't really changed. It's mostly just the recording of it and digitally encoding stuff into files. That's the technology, and some of the amps have gotten more computerized, but at the end of it, it's like it's still like tube amp with an electric guitar that really makes heavy metal.
Sometimes it happened to me that I hear the studio album of a band was so fantastic, and when I see the band in person live, couldn't believe it's the same band I listened to their albums. They sound so bad live.
Yeah, that's always disappointing.
That's not technology. They fix so good in the studio. But bands like Cannibal Corpse, say some like Obituary, like Creator, all these bands, great bands, you can listen to them day in, day out, and go to all kind of festival shows they play, and they're always the same, perfect sound.
Yeah, well, some of the bands, the older bands, they're used to doing it without technology. It wasn't always that you fix an out-of-tune vocal or you can make something like more rhythmic just by using a computer. So a lot of the older bands, it was only you had to record it well, you had to get it right while you're in the studio, and there was no fixing it. It just had to be right.
Yeah, I think that's the case in the case of Steel Prophet as well. Bands coming from the 80s and still, like I say, rock the fucking nations. Steve, talking about the 80s, how did you start the band back then? And who were the band's original members?
Yeah, so we started the band like 1983 or 1984, and the original members were Harry Blackwell on the drums, Gary Stocking on vocals, and Wayne Faircloth on bass. That was just starting it. We didn't really know what we were doing or anything like that. And eventually we moved to Los Angeles, me and JT, our drummer, who's on the new album. And we got together this lineup with Rick Mathiasen, John Paget, John Tarascio, and Vince Dennis. And then we recorded like our classic demo, Inner Ascendance. And now really the band is that same band that put that out in 1989, except for we don't have Rick Mathiasen with us anymore.
Talking about the older lineups, we know the band has gone through a big lineup change over the years since its formation, and many of these ex-members are great and talented musicians like vocalist Gary Stockings, Rick Mathiasen, Bruce Hill, guitarist, I can mention Chris Lyer, Horacio Colmenares, Tim Thomas, bassist Wayne Faircloth, Glenn Cannon, some drummer Harry Blackwell, as you said, Pete Parada, Kevin Cafferty, James Schultz, and so and on, all the great musicians that has been part of Steel Prophet, great success nowadays. Was there any lineup at some point of time you preferred it the most, and why?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's I mean, it's really it's this lineup here with John Paget and John Tarascio. and Vince Dennis. Me and Vince have been through the whole thing since like 1987. But it's this one right here, because this is when we finally got the band together where it started to sound really good, and we started playing shows with like Fate's Warning or Sacred Reich or Candlemass or Armored Saint, stuff like that. When we started playing with those bands and we realized that we were like at that caliber, I thought that was great. And we made Inner Sentence tape, and then it just like things happened and people got involved in different groups. But then we brought it back together again in 2013, and we're really the guys that really started it and got it going. And yeah, I just really love playing with these guys because I just feel like we were all in it together, and that was kind of like our family, and like we still have the family going.
Steve, you are still the only remaining original member left, right?
Yeah.
The band recruited the all-star heavy metal singer, R.D. Liapakis of MysticProphecy and Devil's Train, that you guys decided to hire Liapakis as the band's new frontman. And how did you get in touch with Liapakis? Was this an easy process, or did you know him from MysticProphecy on one of your tour you've done in Europe?
Well, the way I call him Leah for short. That's kind of like his nickname. So the way I met Leah was he was recommended to me to mix our last album called Omniscient. And so he mixed that album. And so we had a working relationship. We knew each other. And so with the new songs, I was writing them and demoing them with the guitar and drums. And I sent him couple of the rough mixes just to talk about if he would want to mix the album when it was finished. And he did. He wanted to mix it. We were just talking about stuff. And at some point, we didn't have a singer that recording the instrumentals, but then we were going to need to get the singer to record the songs also when we found one. And I was talking to Leah, and it just occurred to me to ask him if he would be interested, because he's a great singer and he really liked the songs a lot. And since he liked the songs and he had ideas about, how the vocals should be, it seemed like a natural thing just to ask him if he wanted to be the vocalist. And I asked him and he said yes.
I think, wow, great decision for both of you.
Yeah, I think it worked out. I thought it was a really good idea at the time, but the way the album came out is even better than I expected. I thought it was going to be great. He really surprised me. He made it way better than I could have expected.
Steve, talking about Leah as the band new frontman, it was very interesting and so funny at the same time. The idea that you guys came up with for people to guess who the new singer is. Everybody was saying this and that and that. I even thought on John Landa, it happened to be Leah. And who won this contest and how did you came up with this idea?
Yeah, I've forgotten the name of the guy that won the contest, but he'll be getting the new album. But it was, I think it was Leah's idea. I think it was I think between Leah and the record company, they had this idea to guess the singer. At first we hadn't told anybody, and we were gonna maybe just put some videos out and then everybody would see and hear all at once. But they thought this contest would be an interesting way to get people involved. And it seemed like it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, but you hear a lot of names.
Oh, yeah. So some of them made a lot of sense. And then there were a couple ones where, it didn't sound anything like the guy to me. Like somebody said, James Rivera from Hellstar. And I was like, he doesn't sound, like this at all. He's got like a very clean voice, and Leah's got this kind of raspy, like bluesy, heavy quality to his voice. So yeah, some of them were kind of funny.
Steve, the band released two first album with Brainstorm Division, a small German record label, in 1995, The Goddess Principle, and in 1997, Into the Void. And suddenly, the band went over to work with a giant German nuclear blast record whom the band had released 4 albums with, to say them, Dark Hallucination, that was in 1999, in 2000, Messiah, a Book of Death in 2001, and Unseen, that was released in 2002. Great albums, each on their own. Steve, how was it for the band that has worked with small label and suddenly been in the guidance of one of the greatest label in the metal scene? And how was the Nuclear Blast era for you?
Oh, it was good. We went from not really having too much support or promotion to getting a lot more press and getting bigger production budgets to make our records. And then they would pay tour support so we would be able to get out, and we did some pretty good tours, like with Ed Guy and Gamma Ray and Angel Dust and some of these other bands. And so it was pretty good. It was like going from very small to getting more in the right direction of where we wanted to go.
Back those years, are you satisfied?
I think that I wish that we would have sold more records. That's what I could say. I think that did okay, but we were hoping for better. But it's a case of supply and demand, and the fans are the ones that ultimately make the decisions on how successful a band's career is going to be. They vote with their money, if they want to buy the CDs and go to the shows, then demand is there. And if they don't really want to, it's like your band's never going to get that big.
Fear
The band also released one album with the other German label, Massacre Record, the album Beware, that was released in 2004. After that, it took the band 10 long years to release another full-length album, Omniscient, with the compilation in between Shadows of Forever via Greek Steel Legacy record. Steve, why has it took so long since the release of Beware in 2004 to come back with an album? Was the band put on a break?
Yeah, it just seemed like the experience we had with Beware, it didn't work out very well for us. It was like the first time that I tried to like take the role as like the recording engineer, and I feel like sound quality wasn't that good of the album, and some different decisions made with the management at the time. And our singer on that album was Nader the Priest. It didn't go well. It's like it didn't really go well for me, and I felt like I would rather not really be involved with making music for a while. I was just like, this is too much hard work, and it's like some of the business things and the personal things just made it seem to me like I prefer just not to like waste my time doing that, you know?
But what was you doing all those years? You was playing for some other band?
Yeah, occasionally with other groups and stuff like that. Not that much. I mean, I was just kind of I do engineering for a medical device company, and that's what I've been doing for quite a long time. I just didn't get the itch to do anything with new music because the business side of it just kind of like discouraged me. But then eventually Vince was like ringing me up on the phone and saying, let's do something, let's write a new album and stuff like that. And after a few years, I started to get the itch back, and I wanted to start writing some new music. And so that's what happened. It just kind of like went through like a little dark period for a little while, and then we came out with Omniscient.
This album was released in July of 2014 via the Italian Cruz del Sur Music. Massive 10-year gaps sit between Omniscient and its predecessor Beware. But the good news for their loyal fans was the return of Rick to the mic at the time for the band Omniscient album. What has you decided to bring Rick back, Steve?
Vince thought that's what we should do. That's what he wanted to do. He just called me up and he said, I'm gonna call Rick and see if he wants to sing on the album. And I was like, okay. So that's what he did. He called Rick, and Rick wanted to do it, and it was that simple. We wrote the album, and Rick sang. I liked it. I thought the album came out pretty good.
Great songs like Trickery of the Scorch, 6-6 is Everything, Through the Time and Space, A Funeral for Art, and so on. Talking about the tracking list of this album, I see that the band has added Bohemian Rhapsody, a Queen's cover song, to this album. Why?
Yeah, they were always my favorite band. That's it. I just always that was always my favorite band ever since like a kid. They were just like so Freddie Mercury was so crazy, It's like I thought he was like the most amazing singer ever. And Rick liked Freddie Mercury a lot too, and Queen. So that's it.
Do you want to talk a little bit about this song, the last one on the album, the 1984, George Orwell, his rolling in his grave? What is it all about?
That's just about that 1984 book. It talks about like government surveillance, and it was written like, I don't know, in the 40s or something like that, or the 50s. So to them, 1984 was far in the future. And they saw it as being like everybody would have to be on video surveillance like 24 hours a day in their own house and stuff like that. And the government would always be listening to you. And Rick thought that it was just funny that for George Orwell, he wrote the book for him to be rolling in his grave if he saw what things are like today.
Yeah, I understand. Do you think 10 long years was enough for the band to come up with such a great album? And are you now satisfied with how everything has done with Omniscient?
I think that was plenty of time to do it and do it right. And I'm very happy with that album, but I always, like, I'm a tough critic on all the albums that we put out, and there's always things that almost as soon as the album comes out, I listen to it and I think of things that I wish I would have done just to make it a little bit better. And so I'm always just a little bit dissatisfied after I listen back, because I always feel like I'm progressing and that there's new things that I could do that would have made that song better.
Even though it was mix and master at the Prophecy and the Music Factory studio by Paget, Germany?
I think it turned out great. I mean, I'm very happy with it. Yeah, for sure.
Must be rolling in his grave at a present police state. 1984. John, well, I thought that he was maybe off by a few years. 1984. He was illegal, but properly so legal. Convict you as a criminal before you thought of a crime. Name is just a number, the date of history, brother. DNA and physics can't whatever trick was in his hand. Feel the global lockdown, stop him all the snack. Now be careful on the internet, he's watching and controlling you. You don't even think it's true, tap your brother's watching you. Tell me what you're gonna do.
Continue with this interview. Steel Prophet announced the release date and track list of their upcoming album, The Gotham Machine. 5 years after the release of their latest album, Omniscient, the band dedicated the all-star heavy metal singer, producer, are the Liapakis of MysticProphecy and Devil's String, and his unique range of vocal skill to perfectly match the songs on the Gotham Machine. R.D. Liapakis is not just only the man behind the microphone through things. He, alongside you, Steve Kachinsky, is responsible for a songwriting and production process of the album. The Gotham Machine will be released through Row Rock of Angels Records, physically and digitally worldwide on April 26, 2019. How is everything going so far with the album, Steve?
Well, it's still waiting for it to come out. It's about like 25 days away. So far, the press is just outstanding. It's like people are really fallen in love with the album. I've just heard great stuff about it. People telling me stuff like they were listening to the album and when it ended, they were surprised because like it ended too soon. They still wanted more, which a lot of people find that a lot of today's albums, they last too long. Like you almost start getting bored before the album's over. And so they were like pleasantly surprised that it ended before they wanted it to end, and it left them wanting more.
The album started with the absolute banger album title song. The Gotham Machine features furious rhythms, fast riffing, and catchy arena chorus, preparing the ground for Crucify. Steve, if you so wish, since the album is not yet released, would you like to talk about the songs on the tracking list?
Oh, sure, we can.
Okay.
Each one of these tracks is a little bit different than the other. Some of them are a little bit more fast and powerful. Some are a little bit more chunky, and we got a little bit of like some doom type of stuff, a little bit of thrash. It's a real varied album, and there's like a little bit of a theme with like the God Machine is some theme that kind of works its way into all the songs. It's just a question of what does the God Machine mean to you?
Okay. Steel Prophet, where their brand new opus, The Gotham Machine, deliver a damn fine sample of pure power, stuffed with tons of riffs enough to bang your head. A big and a massive sound and melodies, killer songs. Produced by Liapakis, we just mentioned, the new vocalist as well. And you, Steve, mix and master by Best Producer 2017 Heavy Music Award winner Henrik Ut at Henrik Ut Recording Studio, who also work with Bring Me, The Horizon, Hammerfall, Powerwolf, etc. Steve, 5 years, time in between the last album to this new one. How long has the songwriting and recording taken place? And what was your work done with Henry Ut at Henry Ut's Recording Studio?
I got started on writing 9 of the songs in 2017, the end of 2017. Basically, everything got written then except one track, The God Machine, which got written later. But we put together the guitars and the drums, and then later Leah came in and did the vocals, and Henrik Udd did the mix in Sweden, and Leah went out there to Sweden to work on the mix with him. I listened to the mixes while I was here in the States and made my suggestions and stuff like that after they would work on some of the mixes. Finally, we just finished the mix and the master. It seems like it came out pretty good. I think that Henrik Udd was like a really great producer or mixer for us to work with.
Steel Prophet Crucified official lyric video was released on March 15, and also single for the self-titled song The Gotham Machine. Steve, could you please tell us about the lyric video? And I'm still missing an official film video in promotion of this upcoming album.
Well, the lyric video was done by a group, I think it's called Iconworks. It's one of the strong songs on the album. I feel like each one of the songs has different hooks. We really liked the song Crucify quite a lot. We thought that the hooks are strong, and so that's the first video. We also have 2 other videos that'll be coming out that are not lyric videos. They're actual performance videos with the band, and those will come out just like a couple weeks before the album gets released.
Control
Talking about the album, this album will be available on limited digipack CD, including a logo patch and red black splatter vinyl, strictly limited to 500 copies worldwide. Are there gonna be more colored vinyls be available, and will there be more print out when finished?
Oh, I think so, yeah. If they move pretty quick, I think there's no problem with them pressing more.
Steve, the new album cover artwork done by Dusan Markovic Arts, a great one. How has you came up with this cover artwork? Was it specially painted for the new album?
Yeah, Leah has worked with this artist before on some Mystic Prophecy album covers, and we just had the idea of what we'd like it to look like. We wanted it to kind of look like a cross between a laboratory and a church. This is to us what the God Machine is, and it's creating monsters. So it's pretty, it's a little bizarre.
Okay. Throughout the Steel Prophet career, the band has played alongside with great bands like Manowar, Saxon, Armored Saint, Gandalmas, Fate Warning, Sacred Right, Flotsam, Jetsam, Hellstar, Gamma Ray, Edguy, Roland Grappock, among many others, and has appeared at some of the biggest metal festivals like Milwaukee Metal Fest, Proc Power, Ultrasound, and Power Mat Fest, Bang Your Head Festival, and the gigantic Wacken Open Air, to say some. After all the band has achieved, is there something you still need to accomplish, Steve?
Yeah, we need to have our own private jet to fly around in, just like Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
And
the
we
Gotham Machine
we
Jazz.
want Bruce Dickinson. Yeah, that would be good. That's what I'm holding out for.
Yeah, that's funny. Steve, I like to thank Dustin Hartman and Rock of Angel Records to have sent me the brand new album, The Gotham Machine. What a great album. I love the songs that already was released. The God Machine, Crucified, but highly recommend a lot of songs on this album like Damnation Calling, Soul Hunter, Buried Unbroken, Lucifer, The Devil Inside. Wow, what a great album. Too bad people can have it as that, but it's very close. I mean, it's only like a couple weeks away, so you can put your hands on this great new album. Like I said, the album will be released on April 26, and we are only approaching the fourth month of the year. My last question, Steve, what will still be there for Steel Prophet to be doing for the rest of 2019 in support of this great new album? And are there going to be release party shows, or are you going to attend any summer festivals?
Yeah, well, first off, we're having a release party on April 27th, the day after the album comes out, in Sherman Oaks, which is part of Los Angeles here in California. So that's going to be a lot of fun for us. Then we're going to see how the album does, and if everything's going good, we're probably going to try to jump on like a small, maybe 10, 20 date tour of Europe sometime this year. And, we're just going to take it as it comes, see what people, if they're really into the album, what they want. If they want us to come out, we're going to come out.
You don't want to commit when and to where in Europe?
No, I don't. It's all little by little as things go along. Right now, we're hoping for a really good album release, and we're hoping that the record is going to sell well. And then we're going to take it from there. We're going to start looking at things. But if we start doing it now before the album comes out, and if the album comes out and it's not well received, then everything would be premature.
Steve, I want to thank you very, very much once again to make this interview possible. And the microphone of Madam Messiah Radio is all yours to invite all your friends and fans to support the band and to buy your earlier albums and to support the band and look for this great new album and buy it, and to attend the concert you guys have scheduled for the rest of the year.
I just want to thank everybody out there who has supported us over the years, and I hope you check out the new album. I think it's going to be one of those albums where you might put it on and not really expect that much, but I think as you get into the album, you're going to find that it's a really magical album, and you're going to want to stand up and shout and pump your fist and sing along with it. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay, Steve, like I always say, metal on. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you very much, Jacobo.